addiction is a really good example of that, a really clear example. So for instance, opioids, they act on the system in a way, like we could think that when you take an opioid, it informs the predictive system that whatever action suite just took place, which is the drug seeking and taking behavior, whatever that action system was that just got used, that was like a way better than expected way to improve your predictive grip. So the drug actually informs the system. It says, whatever you just did, whatever your expectations were that led to this outcome, we want to turn the volume up on those predictions in a big way. That's called precision weighting. We want to turn the volume up on those predictions in particular, because they led to this unbelievably good predictive outcome. It's like you've just resolved a ton of volatility. So let's say, like, if just to make a note there, like if you're hungry, you expect to be well fed. So if you're hungry, the pain of hunger is like error in the system. It's volatility in the system. You expect to be well watered. If you're thirsty, the pain you're feeling is a rise in volatility. You expect to be loved. When you're lonely, the pain that you're feeling is the difference between your expectation to be social and where you actually are. And those aren't agentive expectations. Those are deep running, deep model expectations. Like you evolutionarily have those expectations in play.
So with opiates, then, like, is there something? Could you say something like there is a natural amount of error in the system? Like, are you reducing error if you take opiates, like as like, or drugs of addiction?
Good.
Is that right?
Right.
Is that way to think of it?
Right. Exactly. No and yes.
No. Okay.
No, you're not actual. How do you say it?
I see what you mean. Okay, go on.
Hold on. So there's a big comorbidity between being hungry, thirsty, lonely, abused, and having no real meaningful way of increasing your predictive grip, and the use of narcotics. Okay, we know that when people have a lot of suffering, then there tends to be a vulnerability to especially drugs like opioids. Okay, the reason might be, at least looking at it through this framework, the reason is that you have all of this latent volatility in your life that you are having a really hard time managing. You can't self-organize in the way that's letting you reduce the volatility relative to your expectations. Okay, so you've got this latent background suffering. You have this latent background mismatch between the way you want the world to be, well-fed, well-watered, well-loved, and in a place where I actually have a meaningful life that matters to me and opportunities to improve. You don't have any of that. Okay, so you've got this latent background volatility. And what the opioid does is it signals to the system a sudden dump of volatility. It tells the system, you just did it. You did it. Like all the things you care about, all of that error between the person you want to be and the person that you actually are. And there's a tremendous amount of distance there. That's why you're suffering. It collapses that in a moment. I mean, if that's the case, then it's not surprising that people are heroin addicts. It's surprising that we're not all heroin addicts in a way, because that's what it does. It informs the system that you've suddenly had a massive coming together of who you expect to be and who you actually are. Now, does it actually do that relative to the world that you're living in? Like, have you improved your relationship with the niche? No, it's like empty calories. It informs the system that you've found a better way to self-organize, except for you haven't found a better way to self-organize. And the wonderful thing here, just following Mark Lewis, is actually relative to this story, the brain hasn't done anything wrong here. It's not like the brain is diseased in addiction per se. The brain is still optimizing. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. It's optimizing relative to its information that it's getting in. The issue is that we didn't evolve to have signals like opioids come into the system, because those signals adjust our belief networks. It changes the belief network to believe that drug seeking and taking is a bona fide way to reduce volatility, and like a seriously good way, like a really like an unbelievable way of managing volatility. But it turns out to be the opposite, of course. You think that that's going to make it better, but actually it makes it worse over the long term.